Was Yoko Ono responsible for breaking up the Beatles? Well, no, but she kind of was responsible for breaking John Lennon. This is probably one of the most common and annoying debate topics when it comes to the Beatles, and it's really complicated too because there's no clear answer. We don't really know if Yoko was a definitive factor for the breakup of the band. Here's the thing, I feel like a lot of people don't really understand how devoted John Lennon was to Yoko, okay? He was doing everything she wanted, even outside of music with things like the Unfinished Music Trilogy. I refuse to call that music. You have the films that basically showed John Lennon's penis or Yoko Ono's butt. I don't really know if it's hers, but I imagine it is. When it came to politics, when it came to music movements, he was doing everything she wanted him to do, and that basically contradicted John Lennon's own personality. So he was going through quite a bit of a change in 1968. That's why we go from Strawberry Fields Forever and Tomorrow Never Knows and A Day in the Life to Your Blues, to Julia, to things like the Plastic Ono Band, to Cold Turkey, Give Peace a Chance. Such a massive change in songwriting and musical ideology doesn't come out of nowhere. It was because of Yoko. You also have the fact that she was constantly in the studio, and unlike any other normal person that just sits there and lets the band record, she was constantly telling John little secrets and giggling and acting like horny teenagers, and obviously I bet this was pretty awkward for Paul, George, and Ringo. So if you were to ask me, do you think John Lennon left the band in September of 1969 because of Yoko, I would say yeah, most definitely, but I feel like the band would have broken up anyway. George was literally waiting. He was just waiting for an excuse to leave the band. He was dying to leave the Beatles and work with people like Eric Clapton, Billy Preston, and Bob Dylan. So blaming all the problems the band had on Yoko is kind of silly and inaccurate, even if I don't like Yoko, because I don't. I hate her music ideology, and I believe that she's made a mockery out of songwriting. But if I'm being honest with myself, I think that she did have quite an influence in John Lennon when they met or when they, got together in 1968. And I do believe that for the most part that influence was negative. I don't really think we can name her the sole responsible behind the breakup of the Beatles. I think they would have broken up anyway.